Hello everyone and welcome back. So I know some of you are sick of the live commentaries, so this will be a welcome respite for you, if you are, because this is my first real battle with the Ninja Corps, and because it's my first battle with the Ninja Corps, I need to slow things down and take this nice and slow. This was a very, very fun battle against somebody who didn't just use the standard army, got his own thing going on, kind of a rush army. Nothing negative about that, I don't mean that in a cheesy way, it's just what it is. But I'll get to that after I talk about my corps. Modified from the theory video, definitely. But I definitely like where it's going, so let's take a look. The infantry is pretty much the same. I have 5 Naginata Samurai. No, excuse me. 4 Naginata Samurai and 1 Naginata Warrior Monk for the war cry. Behind them are 5 Kisho Ninjas, hidden of course, as always. And then 4 Yari Ashigaru, trying to be careful and having them face towards the rear, just to be watching enemy cavalry. Apart from that, we have a bow hero up here in the front, and then off in the forest, kind of crabbing, we have a katana cavalry. Now, I bet that's a surprise to some of you. I know some of you are thinking, Fishy, you never use katana cavalry. Why are you using them now? One big reason. Katana cavalry are very good in melee, and they won't just get routed in a prolonged melee fight like light and Yari cavalry will. So that's one reason I have them. Kind of the idea behind the katana cavalry in this build is to run straight into the enemy and hope the infantry swarms them and then rush in at that moment when they're all in a big glob. Now, things rarely work out on the battlefield like you plan them, but that's kind of the idea. Or I can just use them to charge into errant units straight up, maybe block some charges. Point is, they're just good in melee, so that is why he is part of this build. So, now that I talked about my build, let's go over here and look at the enemy. I still got a lot of units hidden, and but you can still see the sort of build of his army. Lots of infantry. Here's a long Yari Ashigaru here on the side. 2 Yari Samurai here. There's probably a third one hidden here as well. A bunch of katanas and lone swords as well, making up a nice little infantry corps. And then he has 4 or 5 cavalry units. You only see 1 here now, but he has a lot in hiding too. So he's just going to try and rush me with infantry and get his flanking around for a nice quick win. Unfortunately for him, infantry-heavy builds are weak to this Ninja Corps. These bombs will tear you apart no matter how good or elite your infantry is. So that works in my favor, actually. As long as I can keep that cavalry from flanking me too hard, then I'll be fine. Sorry about that, I had to lock my cat in the bathroom while I'm filming. So anyway, I'm moving up to the shrine because while I always say that the workshop is the best capturable building, for this build I'm really going to need morale to help my samurai stand and fight while they're getting torn apart by bombs, and to prevent the enemy from getting the same bonus. The attack and defense isn't really going to matter too much when you're getting torn apart by bombs, so I'm looking for a quick route with the blinding grenades and the toss grenades, so hoping the melee doesn't go too long. Meanwhile, while I'm moving up, my katana cavalry is just kind of crabbing through the trees here, looking for a nice little opportunity to maybe just hit a unit outright or get in a good position to have a preemptive attack. Speaking of preemptive attacks, that's why I'm bringing a bow hero. Their base range is 200, which means, also they do very, very high damage to armored units, even generals. So if you plink away at them with a bow hero, they basically got to attack you, unless they have a bow hero themselves or maybe a lot of bow monks or something. So that's why he's in this build. So he's going to start shooting at the advanced guard coming up here, some Yari Samurai. We got some katanas there and some over here that are going to capture the shrine. I was having trouble with holding control and clicking. It was really fucking up my formation, I'm not sure why. So I didn't get in quite the best formation I could, but it's okay because he was kind of taking it slow. So I wasn't in a big hurry to set up. Now I'm in danger of being spotted here, so my guys are scooting as fast as possible while staying hidden to the forest. But at this point I'm going to start running because I see a nice little hole right here. His general is moving into position in an exposed spot, and it might have worked out in my favor that the banners are such similar colors, because my katana cavalry is probably going to be able to slip in here unnoticed and get off a nice charge into his general. Now katana cavalry do not have the charge that Yari cavalry do, but hey, they're still cavalry units and they will still do a good amount of damage. He tries at the last second to get a Yari samurai up there, but not going to be in time because I'm going to make it right into his general head on. A nice charge, nice and thick, and we're just going to run through with that momentum and bring him down. He's already down 24 men, lost 6 in that initial charge, 23. So watch how well these guys are going to stand in melee. Now he has no spears there, but he's going to start swarming me with swords and cavalry, and that's kind of the idea here behind this katana cavalry in the build. You want to try and get the enemy to swarm them, because katana cavalry won't rout so easily. So you want to get him to try and bunch up around your katana cavalry, just trying to rout him, and then your ninjas can throw the bombs on him. Now, it didn't work out like that because he's on the exact opposite side of the enemy lines that I wanted him to be. But it's still going to work out because I'm going to do some good damage to his general and some other units that happen to get in the melee as well. But I pull him out. See, even usually cavalry takes a lot of casualties when pulling out, but they have really high armor, these katana cavalry, so they won't take as many casualties. When you're moving, your defense drops to 0, but not your armor, so that can still protect you. So my katana cavalry is only down 13 men. He's sitting at 47, so not a big deal there. So I decided to use what's left of him since the general has pulled out and is safely behind his lines. Just run him into a sword. Now, this is important. Swords, I always say, are really weak to cavalry, and I haven't really had a good opportunity to show you exactly how weak, but this is how weak. They're going to take a katana cavalry charge from the rear, this unit of katana samurai here. Oh no, it was this one. Excuse me. This unit of katana samurai who is in the range of the building are going to take a charge from the rear. You're going to see him immediately start wavering. Any second. There we go. Nice little charge unit. They were in loose formation, so maybe not much. Look at that, already wavering. So a straight up cavalry charge into swords can end up routing them. So very weak there. My bow hero is just trying to get some skirmishing in. I'm not in a good position to shoot at his general and put him under pressure, though he's down to 16 men. Good early action there by my katana cavalry. I might have to start bringing those in other builds too. So now we're going to start setting up for the main attack. This is where, usually in my Ninja Corps build, in the beginning and preliminary stages of the battle, everybody's in one control group, so we move as one big mass. But about this time, you start putting everybody in individual control groups, so you can put them where they're needed. I'm going to set my guys up. I have plenty of time, so he's not attacking me right away. So I'm going to set up my Naginatas in a nice wide angle here, just enough to cover his front line. Because I want to keep him try and keep him kind of thick so they can last as long as possible, though it is dangerous with the bombs. And then my ninjas and yaris are going to be moving up. Let's just take a quick look here at this katana cavalry, who's still at 28 men and has actually routed this katana samurai. So yeah, sword's really weak to cavalry. I keep saying my katana corps build's really weak to cavalry. That's why. That was just a straight up attack into a katana samurai. Ended up routing him even though he was supported by a Naginata monk cavalry. So red, well, we're both red. My enemy is going to start moving up now. So will my ninjas, who have been discovered, but no big deal there. I'm shifting 2 of my Yari Ashigaru over here to deter these 2 cavalry. Unfortunately, my one mistake in this battle is when I shifted them over, I left a hole here for the enemy cavalry. So we'll see how that turns out when the battle begins. So my ninjas are getting as close as possible to the enemy lines, and I'm going to put them all just on fire at will. I'm not going to individually order them. So they're just going to start throwing their bombs. My katana cavalry is finally about to rout. As you see, there's a little hole right here. I also want to get my bows into a good spot to shoot. But let's check out the bomb action here. Bodies flying everywhere on both sides. Look, this Naginata's down to 92 men. So, yeah, friendly fire is a factor in this build. They are not like matchlocks. Apparently a tiny little piece of metal is enough to kill a samurai, but a lot of little pieces maybe. So there we go. Bodies flying everywhere. Just hitting him. Now, he did a good response here to my ninjas in only sending a couple units up. In retrospect, I did throw my bombs a little too early. See, now he's moving up. But it is going to do a good job of routing the units that are actually engaged in the front line. So this Lone Sword Ashigaru is down to about half. This Katana Samurai is down to 82. But my front line is ripped up pretty hard as well. You might be thinking this is pretty cheesy because I don't really get morale penalties for being hit by bombs. That is true. But I am taking a lot of casualties, and that does affect morale. My monks here in the middle are down to 84. These 2 Naginatas, kind of in the middle right, are fine. These 2 are hurt pretty bad. This one's at 96, this one's at 78. I still have quite a bit of infantry to slog through, though most of them are spears. He sent his swords up, and they got beaten up by the bombs. And the smoke grenades are now out as well. So my ninjas are having a nice, making a nice little battlefield there for themselves. His cavalry is a little flustered. I'm not sure how he's going to be attacking, but he does slip 1 unit around, get them in a nice little width to attack my general, and in the micromanagement I kind of lost sight of that, and he is going to slip by and hit my general. Luckily for me, I haven't liked my melee general too much recently, but this is one time where I'm really glad I had one, because they took that cavalry charge from the rear, and they were able to take the charge well and actually rout the cavalry unit with little support from these Yaris. His general is also moving up. It's down to 14 men, and I'm having my bow hero shoot at his general to get him under pressure. Morale shocks are a big part of this, and, well, really any army, but especially this one. With no cavalry, you're going to need all the morale shocks you can get. As you can see, they're still wavering over here. My ninjas are now pushing up to fill in the gaps, and we're going to try and rout this chunk over here. This Naginata Samurai is going to hold on as long as possible against this side, and we're going to try and rout this bigger chunk here on the side so we can swarm what's left. He's flanking as well with some Yari Samurai here, but my Ashigaru were going to do a good enough job stopping him. Because they were planted so firmly, I could have probably put them in spear wall, but I was doing some micromanaging with my ninjas, so I didn't get a chance. And now my ninjas are going to be the ones tearing it up here. Everybody up here is hit by the smoke grenades. That does affect every unit. As you can see by the banner, you can see the little symbol next to mine and his, so that affects everybody. But you gotta hope his army got the worst of it and is going to be routing. And he's moving all of his forces to try and just fill in these holes that I've made. The Yaris have come in and to hit this Yari cavalry. My general's fine at 26 men, so I pop a rally because there was some wavering in some of my forces, and I'm going to try and do some flanking with my melee general, really get him into the fight. But unfortunately, this is a bad side for my general to be on. It got really confusing with the banners being so similar. So I was trying to get him around to flank, and then I realized this whole side is just the enemy. So we're pulling back and going around the other side, which is mostly my forces. Also sending a Yari Ashigaru around to flank as well, now that most of the flanking danger is gone. He does have 2 cavalry sitting back here, but I have enough Yaris to cover. That's when we're going to start seeing some wavering. They're really starting to take a toll from my ninjas. They're getting cut down. This katana is at 36 men. This one's at 90, but wavering. And the ninjas are going to do a great job of cutting people down in melee. Let's take a look. So you make a bunch of holes with your bombs, and then you fill them with ninjas. The ninjas have really good stats. I think with 2 melee attack upgrades and my retainers, their attack is up to 24, and their defense is something like 17. So they're very powerful units. Their weakness is they can get swarmed very easily, having only 45 men in the unit. That's where the Naginas that are left standing come into play, and you got to keep them supported there and send them into the holes where you have plenty of room. Now we have the mass rout going on Red's side. Where is his general at? I believe his general's routed too. He brought him up into the melee to try and help. Ended up routing. I didn't hear him die, so I don't think he did, but he's gone regardless. So this whole chunk is now gone, and the battle is over and in my favor. What's left of his army is wavering. He has a couple cavalry units, but being such a spear-heavy army, that does not count for much. So I am going to be just cleaning up this battle at this point. My bow hero miraculously survives with 24 men left in the unit. Proud of him. He did get into the melee a little bit, but came out alright. As you can see here, his cavalry is trying to form up back there and try and get maybe a rear charge in here. But right now it's just swarming up the remnants of his unit, his army, and just clean this up. There we go. We have the wavering on his cavalry. And that's one thing that this build is also weak to. If the enemy loses and they still have cavalry and they just run around the map, you have no cavalry to respond with. So that could be a weakness too, and they could just kind of run around the map for hours. But thankfully, for some reason, they waver really easily when they're down to such few men. If they run around the map too much, they'll rout. I think it has something to do with the fatigue system, but that's one mechanic that Creative Assembly did right. And so there's the end of the battle. Last unit has routed. Let's just take a look here at the front line. All these bomb holes and these dead bodies, and they're just scattered everywhere from those bombs. Look how far back they were from the front line. Just insane. So there you go. I just officially won a matchmaking battle with the Ninja Corps. So, and it wasn't even a full Ninja Corps exactly, because I don't have all my veterans on my Naginata Samurai. Just want to upgrade their defense and morale, 2 in defense and 1 in morale, and then the 1 Naginata Monk won't have any upgrades. He's just there for Warcry. And also I'm gonna try and get everybody to be a veteran just so they're scary, but I won't upgrade the Yari Ashigaru or the Katana Cavalry. They'll just stay unupgraded because they're basically just either they're there, the Yari Ashigaru there to do their job against cavalry, and they don't need any upgrades to do that. And the Katana Cavalry is basically a sacrifice, so they don't need to be upgraded. So I'm trying to keep my money. I'm on kind of a tight budget, try and slip under that limit, so they won't be upgraded. And the Naginatas only get defense and morale upgrades to help them hold the line. The ninjas are fully upgraded with all the basic upgrades, 5 points, 2 in attack, 2 in defense, and 1 in blinding grenades. So they will be pretty pimped out to fill in and cut down whoever's standing after all those bombs, and the smoke grenades and the mass confusion is great. It's just a fun build to use. It's creative. It's a lot of fun to do. My heart was racing in this battle. It was just a lot of fun. So if you feel adventurous, want to try out something new, something creative, you like Keystone Ninjas, whatever the reason, give it a try. It's a really fun build. I think this will be the build it'll be. I might put in Yari Samurai somehow instead of maybe 1 or 2 Yari Ashigaru, just to be a nice firm anchor in my rear. But I like this build as is right now. It works really well. Against a really heavy infantry army, that's exactly what I wanted. Infantry heavy rush armies can be hard to beat, so here's a good way to do it. Thanks for watching, everybody.